Chronic progressive lymphedema isn't mud fever, it's not mites, and it certainly isn't poor management. It's a systemic lymphatic disorder with no cure except for good targeted management. So what is CPL? Chronic progressive lymphedema is a circulatory lymphatic disease, whereby poor lymphatic drainage initially causes swelling in the distal limbs of heavily feathered breeds. Over time, this swelling worsens, and with the laying down of fibrin, fibrosis occurs. This can cause thickening and folding of the skin to develop. We can also see nodules developing later on in the disease, which can then ulcerate, causing its own set of issues. The disease has been noted in Clydesdales, Shires, Belgian drafts, for example, Friesians, Cobs, essentially any feathered breeds. The disease initially begins at an early age and progresses as the horse gets older, essentially getting worse with age. It can lead to disfigurement of the limbs, lameness, and secondary infections as well can occur. And we need to realise that some breeds are a lot more prone to this than others. With Belgian drafts, for example, we know that up to 85% of Belgian draft horses can suffer from CPL. And although we're not 100% sure what causes CPL, because of this breed disposition, we're fairly confident that there is a genetic component which causes it. It's quite common in the early stages of the disease for it to go unnoticed. We know that these subtle changes, if they're happening beneath feathers, we're not going to see that as easily. One of the earliest signs we do notice are what we call cone-shaped lower limbs. If we think of a normal leg, you can see that clear pastern cannon definition. What we find is that these horses lose that definition, and they develop swelling towards the distal limb, and the swelling does resemble a cone-shaped limb as we get further down, and the limbs tend to get a bit lower. And again, none of that definition that we would expect to see in a normal leg. And initially, this is going to be really soft and pitting edema. We know that the lymphatic system is responsible for filtering pathogens before returning fluid to the blood, and plays a vital role in causing that immune response and protecting us secondarily from infection. So it's not surprising that where we've got that reduced lymphatic drainage and we've got warm feathered legs, which are often quite damp as well because we know they're difficult to dry, it's creating the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, for fungal infections, and for feather mites as well, or coreoptic mites as you might know them. These conditions in turn, again, are going to worsen that lymphoedema. So we can see that with all this going on, it can easily spiral out of control and the disease is going to progress before it gets better. As the disease progresses, fibrosis then occurs. This is what's going to cause a skin thickening to develop and those thickened folds of skin that we relate to CPL. Nodules will also start to form. In rare circumstances, we can see these grow up to the size of tennis balls. So with all this thickening of skin going on, with the increased inflammation, the increased swelling of the distal limb, this further is going to impede that lymphatic drainage in the limb, making it worse. And as these lesions progress, they're also going to develop further up the leg as well, and they're going to start developing further towards the hocks or towards the knees. Something else that we find characteristic is very poor hoof growth and that recurrent thrush in the feet as well, largely due to the moist, warm environment that the feathers create. And those secondary infections become recurrent and can become debilitating as well. So why are draft horses so vulnerable? Already the equine lymphatic system has its own set of structural limitations. So first let's look at the flaws in equine anatomy of the distal limb. Horses have fewer smooth muscle cells in the vessels which collect the lymphatic fluid. These smooth muscle cells are required to propel that fluid back up the limb. In other species, we know that we can contract leg muscles, such as us with our calves, and that helps propel the lymph fluid back up the leg. But if we think of horse anatomy on the other foot, they don't have a great deal of musculature distal limb, so they lose that ability to fire the fluid back up the leg from external forces. So because of this, we know that horses generally get lymph fluid pooling in the lower limbs. On top of this, we know that horses are designed to be constantly wandering across pasture. If we compare this to the stabled environment that we normally keep horses in, we can see that that ability is largely lost. Again, this is compromising that lymphatic function and the ability to propel that fluid once again at the leg. We have more limitations to what the horses are able to do naturally. So we've looked now at why horses are generally more compromised in terms of their lymphatic function. So why then are feathered breeds much more susceptible to CPL? One reason which accounts for that genetic component, we know that draft breeds have an abnormal elastin production. So we know that elastin should be stored within the vessel walls of the lymphatic system, again like we said earlier, to help propel that fluid back up the leg. So with reduced elastin, again they've lost that ability. We also know that these draft breeds are heavily feathered usually. What that does, it creates a microclimate around the lower limb. It's going to be warm under all those feathers. You've seen how those hairs can look absolutely gorgeous, but they do keep the legs incredibly warm underneath. And also it's terribly difficult to keep them dry as well, especially if they're out in a field, for example. Once they get wet, it can take them days to actually dry out naturally. So we're creating a really warm, a really moist environment, which in turn is going to progress that secondary infection risk. So by looking at the background of the disease, you can see instantly why just treating normal mud fever isn't going to get us on top of CPL. So to reiterate, here's what the clinical signs of CPL look like in horses. So first we've got those thick and swollen cone-shaped lower legs. We've got recurrent mud fever we're struggling to keep on top of. We've got nodules or lumpy folded skin, poor hoof quality and recurrent thrush. And in more severe cases we're going to get lameness as well, likely due to second infections. For diagnosis, we don't have a specific test that we can carry out to diagnose CPL. So first of all, we need to rule out all the other differentials which may be causing similar looking clinical signs. So do we have dermatophillosis on the distal limbs? Do we have feather mites? Do we have pastern dermatitis, for example? We need to rule all these things out first before we start thinking solely about CPL. We then need to clip those feathers off so we can have a really good look at what's going on underneath there. We know that they're going to be quite sore, so likelihood is the vibration of the clippers is going to make them quite reactive, so we may need to sedate these cases, and more times than not that's what we have to do, just so we can have a really good look at the distal limb and really see what's going on underneath those feathers. And then once we've done this, we quite often make a diagnosis based on the history of the horse, so the breed of the horse, the clinical presentation of the horse, limb conformation, and those characteristic lesions as well. So now we've ruled out all the other causes of the clinical signs, we're confident that we're dealing with CPL, now what? So we need to stress at this point that we can't treat the disease. We can't eradicate the disease from the horse population, but what we can do is do a number of things to slow the progression of the disease and to prevent any damage being caused from secondary infections, for example, which are going to lead to lameness. So we can make the horses much more comfortable, and like I say, we can really slow that progression down and give them a good quality of life for as long as possible. The first thing we can do to slow the progression is to keep those feathers clipped nice and short. This is probably the most difficult thing that we have to persuade owners to do. Chances are that owners have bought these lovely feathered breeds because they've got these really gorgeous, long, thick feathers. That's one of the characteristics that draw people to these draft breeds. So as a vet, we then go and we ask people to clip them all off, and we can see why people are reluctant. But what it does do, if we can keep on top of these feathers, it reduces that microclimate that we mentioned earlier, so it's going to keep the distal limbs cooler. It's going to get rid of that bacterial playground where everything's reproducing massively and getting 10 times worse. Also, if we get any infections, springing up, if we get any secondary lesions, we're going to be able to spot those really easily and treat those topically. The next step is hygiene. So once we've clipped the legs, we need to keep them nice and clean. Again, this is to prevent those secondary infections from forming. But what we need to do, after that gentle cleaning, sometimes up to daily, just to keep on top of things, we need to make sure that the limbs are dried off thoroughly afterwards. Like we said, keeping them moist is going to make things a lot worse and progress that disease a lot quicker. So we need to keep them nice and dry with nice clean towels as well. The reason for keeping the limbs nice and dry is because if we leave them to dry naturally, we risk their skin becoming chapped. This is going to leave us wide open to secondary infections again, which we don't want. Any lesions that we do spot, we can treat those topically. The next step is going to be mite control. Even though we know that coreoptic mites aren't the primary cause, we don't want any excess inflammation down in the distal limb, because we know that that again is going to make that lymphatic drainage worse, and it's going to exacerbate things as well. And any discomfort which is going on, we don't want them stamping feet unnecessarily, we don't want them scratching their legs against the wall, which we know they often do if they have feather mites. Any excess inflammation in the distal limb is just going to help that lymphatic buildup get even worse, and this is going to make the disease progress even quicker. So now we're keeping on top of the disease progress from an external point of view, from the outside of the skin, but what can we do to stimulate that lymphatic drainage? The first thing is regular exercise. We know now that if horses are just stood in the stable, the lymph fluid is just going to pool in the distal limb, so we need to be out riding them, lunging them as much as we can, even just turned out in the field. The more the horse moves around, the more we're going to get that lymph propulsion back up the limb. If we are riding things like trotting and cantering, they're going to do a much better job than just plodding around. And luckily now there are a number of compression garments on the market which really stimulate that lymphatic movement throughout the body. They come in the form of leg bandages, but it's worth noting that we don't just want to use plain elastic bandages around the leg, because we know that that can have a detrimental effect with lymph flow, and it can make things a lot worse. So have a shop around with products, have a look to see what is specifically designed for CPL, and like I say, there are a load of options out there which you can choose from. And if we think about those clinical signs which are directed towards the foot, regular farrier, we need to have a think about how we can keep that hoof on in a really good quality, and how to reduce the risk of thrush as well. Systemically, we can use anti-inflammatory medication, especially if they're becoming lame, and the legs are becoming particularly inflamed. We might give them a course of anti-inflammatories just to get on top of that discomfort. But it is worth noting that they don't need to be on them constantly. It's only during those flare-up periods that we want to have them on something. And lastly is monitoring. We need to be keeping an eye on how the disease is progressing, by daily checks really. We need to keep an eye on the legs to make sure there's no secondary infections forming, because if there are, we can treat those quite early on. And just to stress, this management is going to be lifelong. We're going to be stuck with this condition for the rest of the horse's life, so we need to be in it for the long run. So here's the take-home messages. If your horse has recurring pastern dermatitis that you're struggling to get on top of, get it checked out by your vet. Or, on the other hand, if you're a vet who has a patient that could fall into this category, keep CPL in the back of your mind. The disease isn't due to poor management. We know that there's a genetic component. CPL has no treatment, but with good management we can slow the progression of the disease and keep them comfortable for as long as possible. Thanks for joining me on the Fresh Vet channel today. If you like this video, please hit like. If you would like to see more, please hit subscribe. And if you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, please drop them in the comments below. And I will see you next time.